Today's episode of Spybrary is dedicated to a very good friend of the show and the community whose wife unfortunately passed away after a long battle against illness a couple of days ago. Just want to say to you that you have many friends here at Spybrary, both on the podcast and in our community, and we send you our deepest sympathies.
Welcome to Spybrary, by Spy fans, for Spy fans, with Shane Whaley. Shane dives into the mystery and intrigue of spy books and movies, both fact and fiction, delivering reviews and interviews with authors, historians, intelligence experts, and spy fans. He discusses everything from John le Carré, Len Dayton, Ian Fleming, Tom Clancy, Brad Thor, and many more. If you love spy books and movies, keep listening. This podcast is for you. This is Spybrary.
It's a brush pass, quick and simple.
You are listening to Brush Pass on Spybrary. Quick reviews sent in by spy fans for spy fans.
Hello Spybrarians, Andy Onyx here with my brush pass review of the G.K. Chesterton novel from 1908, The Man Who Was Thursday. We begin in the arty enclave of Saffron Row, which the author tells us is on the sunset side of London. Its irregular brickwork, as red as the flaming skies, evokes a kind of suburban Portmeirion, the Welsh village where the 60s ITC series The Prisoner was filmed. Now hold that thought. The highly visual, surrealistic style of the novel begins there and doesn't let up. Dusk falls at a garden party, lit by Chinese lanterns, and two gentlemen poets are locked in a debate framed by the ideals of art, torn betwixt chaos and order. Our protagonist, Gabriel Syme, argues in favour of civilization and conformity and mocks the passionate rebellion espoused by his flame-headed opponent, Mr. Gregory, who then declares himself an anarchist. At the party's end, incensed by Syme's gentle ridicule, Gregory says he'll convince him of his commitment to the cause on condition that he will not pass on any detail of what he sees to the police, and assuring him of a night he won't forget. Syme agrees and is taken by cab to supper in a dark corner snug of a flea pit tavern. And what occurs next may be the moment where Spyfire as we know it was born. As following a word of warning from Gregory, the table revolves like a screw and the pair descend deep underground. The poets arrive in a lair which is lined in steel and racked out with enough weaponry and ordnance to destroy the order of society. Gregory then explains that a man known only as Sunday, his supreme leader, taught him that dressing as a cloaked anarchist and declaring his aims to all that would listen would prevent suspicion, attract ridicule, and allow their destructive aims to be achieved in plain sight. Gregory then reveals to Syme that his comrades will arrive shortly to elect one of their number to the 7-man General Council of European Anarchists, each of which is codenamed after days of the week. And the vacancy to be filled that night is for Thursday. With seconds to spare, as the delegates approach, Syme asks Gregory for a promise in return for his own vow that he will reveal nothing of what he sees to the police. And Gregory agrees. And as these delegates enter, Syme confesses that he is indeed from Scotland Yard and from a special unit tasked with infiltrating and destroying the anarchist threat. Bound by their vows to one another, both men desperately appeal to the delegates to be elected as Thursday. The successful candidate is then adorned in a cloak, revolver and sword stick and is taken downriver through the breaking dawn to meet the other 6 members on a Leicester Square balcony. The anarchist council is headed by the aforementioned Sunday, a huge, seemingly omnipotent president, all-knowing, all-seeing, who introduces the new Thursday to the eccentric bunch at the table. Monday, the secretary with the crooked smile. Tuesday, Gogol, the hairy Pole. Wednesday, the French Marquis Saint-Eustache. Friday, the elderly, infirm German academic, Professor de Worms. And Saturday, the young Englishman in the black spectacles, Dr. Bull. Now, as the adventure unfolds, each of the council maintain a persona and traits linked to their day name, from optimism to doomy nihilism. And the period banter involving gentlemanly barbs between them in the heat of the moment is a joy. But this novel is light on the isms often found in the work of Morm, Fleming and the like that may repel more sensitive readers, though the only woman in the book seems to be just decorative feature in the surreal garden in which she's found. Also in common with the 80s A-Team, despite sword-stick duels, heads clattered and shots fired, nobody actually dies here. Or do they? This was an easy 2-day read, even for a slow coach like me. But The Man Who Was Thursday seemed to possibly set the template of the emerging genre of spy fiction, as pan-European anarchy would soon be overtaken by the Imperial German threat, where nothing and no one can be what it seems. The use of prosthetic disguises, new technology, the motor car in this case, and the big bad proto-Blofeld of Sunday. 70 years later, Chesterton's scenes would transfer to the cinematic Bond, Mission Impossible and beyond. But the nearest comparison to the novel, as personal and collective illusion and reality become harder to discern, is Patrick McGowan's The Prisoner. This leads me to end, or is that begin, with the novel's full intended title, G.K. Chesterton's The Man Who Was Thursday. A Nightmare. Thanks for listening. I'm Andy Onyx, the author of The Glimmer Girl and Shamstone. I'm at andyonyx.co.uk, where you can get the Barbell dossier. It's not over till it's over. Keep staying safe. Until next time, Onyx out.
Can you pull off a brush pass? Send in your review to shane@spybrary.com.
Thanks for listening to the Spybrary podcast. You don't have to wait for the next episode. Join the conversation happening now at facebook.com/Spybrary and on Twitter @Spybrary.